Hi, I'm Paul from Studio Centrale, and this is the Humble Creative Podcast. I had an idea for this podcast episode yesterday, but I didn't have everything set up, and I didn't want to lose the idea. So I started writing a note to myself. I was putting down bullet points about what I wanted to say and why I wanted to say those things, and it all just fell apart for me. I totally lost interest in that subject, and I just felt that I couldn't go ahead. And this illustrated for me a very important aspect of my own creativity. And that is, I don't like to pre-plan. I like to work by the seat of my pants, just go and do things on spec, so to speak. So I'm not a planner, I'm a pantser. And I first learned that distinction a number of years ago when I was doing the National Novel Writing November. Oh my gosh, what's it called? The NaNoWriMo, the National Novel Writing Month. And that's the month of November. And when I started doing that, one of the things that the website asked, if you will, was, do you like to plan things out? Are you a meticulous planner? If so, this might be a strategy to start writing your novel for the month of November. Or are you a pantser? Do you just like to let things happen organically and you like to go with the flow? And I decided I was a pantser. And that was really because in my job, I had to be a meticulous planner. I'd had to be a meticulous planner from the time I was in graduate school. And I was just sick of doing that. It had become rote, it had become routine, it had become uninteresting to me. And I didn't feel creative doing it most of the time that I did it. I had some success. I had several $1 million in grants over the course of my career, but it just didn't fulfill me as a way of working through ideas and bringing ideas to a point where I could run an experiment or plan the next experiment based on what we had learned from running previous experiments. So I'm learning while doing this podcast, I'm learning that I really have rejected that part of my life. I really have rejected the whole idea of meticulous planning. It actually causes me to freeze up. When I first started the podcast, I had a lot of difficulty recording episodes because I would have these brain freezes during the course of doing the recording. Long pauses in between single words in a sentence because I was trying to remember what was that thing I wanted to talk about or what was the point I wanted to make here while doing the recording. Not a very good combination. I certainly realized that if I had some slides or a teleprompter, that things would probably be even worse. And so when I came back to doing the podcast after my little break for medical reasons, I had the inspiration just to speak off the top of my head like this. So I'm being true to my pantser roots, if you will. It comes with costs. I have to accept the fact that I'm going to forget to say things that I really wanted to say. I'm going to forget to make some points that I thought would be important to make during the course of my conversation with you. Just as happens in real life when you have a conversation with someone. But unlike real life, I don't have that luxury of speaking to you directly, giving you the opportunity to respond to something I've said, listening to what you've said, and then on the basis of that, take the conversation forward more. So that is a limitation of treating a podcast like a conversation. But I hope this works for you because this is what works for me. I just find that time and time again, this is the thing that works for me. And so that brings me more or less to the point of this conversation, which is it's all about me. first. It has to be all about me. This is my creative thing that I'm doing, this podcast. The podcast and the way that I do it has to work for me. It has to be something that I want to do. It has to be done in a way that I want to do it, even if it's not necessarily the conventional way of doing it or not necessarily the recommended way of doing it. I've talked about this before. There are no universal truths. There is no universal right way to do a podcast. Now, for you, you might think, and that's why I wish we were having a conversation in real life, because I really love to know, are you a pantser or are you a planner? Would it freeze you up to think about going on camera and just speaking off the top of your head? Or does that appeal to you? Does that rhyme or resonate with the way you like to approach your creative projects? Or are you a meticulous planner? Do you have a special note-taking app? Do you have a special template that you use? Do you have different things that you need to have in place first before you do something creative in your studio or at your dining room table or wherever you're doing your creativity? Perhaps you could leave a comment, because I'd really like to know, of those of you who watch and listen to the podcast, what works for you? I'm always interested in knowing what works for other people. So I'm a pantser, but I always seem to forget that at first. So when I decided I wanted to have a YouTube channel, for example, I watched tons and tons of videos of how to make videos and how you had to plan, and I looked at templates and I downloaded software, and then I watched all the gear videos and I went out and I bought gear, and then I didn't stop buying gear at a point where I should have stopped buying gear, and I bought even more gear, a lot of which I hardly ever use, if at all. On the other hand, if I had just gone with my gut feeling, which would have been to take my phone, hold it out like this, even though that's shaky, and you've experienced that the last couple of episodes, I would have got started sooner. I probably would have been happier doing it initially. I probably would have felt more confident in doing it. But I had to go through that planning process that was ingrained in me from 4 decades of working as a university professor. So, as always, you are creative and you come first. The thing that you're doing has to work for you. It has to be fun for you. It has to engage you. You have to look forward to doing it with excitement. And how social media and having a social media presence has an impact on that part of being creative and on your creative growth isn't a topic for another episode. And that's an episode that I look forward to making at some point, because I have some experience with the pros and cons of having a social media presence. Obviously, this YouTube channel is a social media presence, for example, and how that's benefited my creativity, and how hard I have to work to prevent it from limiting my creative growth. So that will be an upcoming episode for sure of the podcast. But I just want to leave you the same way that I always leave you. I want to say, first of all, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And I honestly do really wish that we could have a conversation about creativity in person, because that way I would hear more about your thoughts on creativity. And I'm sure I would learn things from each and every one of you. Your creativity has to work for you. You can certainly watch videos. I did watch videos. Some things I learned that I was able to put into practice. Other things I learned by trying them that they just simply didn't work for me. And I had to have that skill of accepting that they didn't work for me and saying, that's fine, I can let that go because it's not ultimately going to affect my ability to grow as a creative person. So I wish that same mindset for you. I hope that you have that mindset already. And thank you very much for watching. I very deeply appreciate it. And I hope to see you at the next episode. Bye for now.